Chapter 71, Deterrence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Slaughtering 3,000 Jinui at once, forcing back the Imperial Court's tiger-roaring camp, and the five-color slap like a fairy, the martial arts world was shaken, and the Imperial Court was shaken. Yuan really did it, and the world knew it with one battle. Because he was not bound by the secular world, wandered around the world, his whereabouts were erratic, and he was good at spreading profound martial arts, he was honored by many people in the world as the wandering fairy. However, in comparison, Lu Huar's name Poison Fairy was more deeply rooted in people's hearts. In fact, people initially called it Poison Madman. But when people on the street were all weak on the ground because of it, Madman became Fairy. Taiwan Novel Network. 2 days after the news came out, in the imperial city of the capital, the morning light sprinkled into the palace gate, and the forbidden city was solemn and solemn. On the steps in front of the Hall of Supreme Harmony, hundreds of officials lined up, and the long sound of bells and drums echoed in the magnificent hall. Yuan, who often said that he was in poor health, rarely showed up today. Looking at the emperor who walked a little unnaturally, the ministers below exchanged glances with each other. I don't know if it's due to genetics, but the Zhu family has had lameness for many generations. Yuan is still very young, but now there are already signs of it. The emperor sat down, and the ceremonial officer sang, "If there is something, report it early, if there is nothing, leave the court." After that, an old minister in a scarlet robe and holding a tablet slowly walked out of the queue, with a solemn face and a loud voice. "Your Majesty, I have a report to make. Recently, the Xuanhuan has been turbulent. There are actually two warriors who rely on their peerless martial arts, fireworks and poisons, and openly challenge the majesty of the court. In one day, they killed 3,000 elite Jinui. The means are cruel and outrageous. There are also many Xuanhuan wanderers who gather with weapons and swear to form an alliance. They are all the same as those two people and treat the national law as nothing. This is knights breaking the law with martial arts. The extreme is indeed an act of lawlessness and treason." The old minister spoke fiercely and emotionally, and continued, "Your Majesty, although the Xuanhuan is far away, it is still under the rule of the Ming dynasty. If such atrocities are allowed to run rampant, it may shake the foundation of the country and make the people uneasy. I beg your Majesty to issue an order immediately to mobilize the army to arrest these criminals, destroy the rebellious sects, and severely punish them to serve as a warning to others. At the same time, we should strengthen the supervision of Xuanhuan forces to prevent such incidents from happening again, so as to maintain the stability of our Ming dynasty and the peace of the people." After speaking, the old minister kowtowed to the ground to show his loyalty and determination. In the court, for a while, there was a lot of discussion, and the ministers either nodded in agreement or looked worried, knowing that this matter was no trivial matter. On the dragon throne, Yuan frowned after hearing this. He was very angry because the mobilization of the 3,000 Jinui and Huxiang was not his order at all. He only issued the task of investigating the Jinui, but it suddenly became a joint action of 3,000 households. Huxiang even used the excuse of normal coordination. Can coordination take a detour of hundreds of kilometers? 15 artillery pieces appeared on the scene. Yuan glanced at several people in the court, and his annoyance and resistance to going to court became stronger. He didn't want to argue with these civil servants at all, because no matter what he did, he would be restricted. He just wanted to go back and drink, but at this moment, as the emperor, he had to express his position. Suppressing his impatience, he slowly said, "This matter is of great importance. I will investigate it in detail. If the situation is true, it will be severely punished. Whether in the rivers and lakes or in the court, everyone must abide by the king's law and must not cross the line." "Oh, what if I must cross it?" A frivolous voice suddenly appeared. Everyone looked at it and found that there was an extra figure in the center of the hall. The man came in a plain green long gown, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, handsome and elegant. His black long hair was tied up with a simple wooden hairpin, and a few strands of hair danced in the wind, adding a bit of unruly and casualness. The man was Yuan. "How dare you? Who dares to trespass into the palace?" A young general came straight to Yuan. Yuan didn't even look at the other party. He bent his fingers and flicked them. The white gold true energy turned into a sword aura, which instantly pierced the other party's head. The instant death stimulated the nerves of everyone present. Protect the Emperor. Protect the Emperor. That the shrill voice came from someone's mouth. Outside the gate, the Jinui and the front guards of the palace army rushed into the hall with a clatter. Lu Yuan smiled and narrowed his eyes, raised his hand and slapped twice, and more than a dozen people were smashed together with the vermilion gate of the Hall of Supreme Harmony. Yes, 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 it's you. It's him. Kill 3,000 Jinui. As soon as the iconic slap came out, someone immediately revealed Lu Yuan's identity. The scene was in chaos, and the civil officials retreated frantically in fear. Although the military generals were brave but not stupid, they just moved to the side of the emperor, but no one dared to step forward. You just recognized me. I thought you had my portrait a long time ago. Lu Yuan stood in place and smiled and spoke, raising his hand and sucking. Zhu Yijuan, who was being protected and retreating in the distance, screamed and flew towards Lu Yuan uncontrollably, but he was stopped in mid-air. A red-clothed man flashed into the field, carrying several silver rays, and attacked Lu Yuan's throat at an exaggerated speed. But as soon as he approached, it was like being stuck in a quagmire. Lu Yuan raised his hand and the attack turned to one side. Then the pressure in the field loosened and tightened, and the old eunuch was almost vomiting blood. Taking advantage of the other party's unstable breath, Lu Yuan had already come to the other party's side. The old eunuch raised his palm, with a needle hidden between his fingers. Lu Yuan raised his hand, and the domain control coordinated with the martial classic, crushing in all aspects. With just one most common move of piercing clouds and swallows, and connecting with a small grab, the old eunuch's entire arm was removed. Then his right hand naturally swept across the other's tanjong, shaking off the sunflower true qi in his body. Eunuch, it's not easy to practice, and your mission is always difficult. The old eunuch wanted to fight back, but Lu Yuan hit several major acupoints, sealing the other's qi channels and paralyzing his limbs at the same time. The old eunuch, who was sitting on the ground with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, saw Lu Yuan sucking again and taking the emperor into his hands, and he hurriedly said, "This matter has nothing to do with your majesty." Yes, yes, yes. This matter has nothing to do with me, my good man. My order is just to let the Jinui invite you. I don't mean to harm you. Zhu Yijuan said hurriedly. Oh, who gave the order? Lu Yuan asked slowly. Now that the emperor has been taken, those Jinui and the front guards of the palace army no longer charge without thinking. However, before Zhu Yijuan could answer. How dare you? Let his majesty go. A minister hiding behind the crowd spoke. Lu Yuan turned his head and slapped him. With a loud bang, the gold bricks on the ground shattered. In that direction, 3 ministers, including the person who just spoke, were killed on the spot. The bloody scene frightened the officials around, and several officials who were close and almost affected were directly incontinent. I only know Zhang Siwei. He took the lead in this matter. Who is Zhang Siwei? Zhu Yijuan looked at the muddy meat with a pale face. Lu Yuan knew immediately, and then looked for the old minister who had just spoken first. He sucked the other party to his side again. I don't know. Before the other party finished speaking, Lu Yuan launched the mind confusion technique in public. Then, under the horrified gaze of the crowd, names were revealed one by one. Lu Yuan didn't even need to ask who it was. As the name appeared, the people around that person in the field immediately scattered. Lu Yuan would naturally not let them down. The sword energy fired in bursts, and the heads were shot one after another. The increasingly strong smell of blood enveloped the whole venue, and many people vomited directly. Just when everyone thought that the roll call was over and breathed a sigh of relief, Lu Yuan asked another question that made the civil officials tremble. Very good, then tell me, who were the people who framed Lu Jinyan back then? Chapter 72 Flowers in April that year. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Lu Yuan left the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the ground was already blurred, and the number of civil officials in the court was reduced by half. After killing people, Lu Yuan left without leaving a single extra word, nor did he set any rules. Today's deterrence alone is enough. As for how the court and the rivers and lakes will develop in the future, he did not say much. because he had no good solution for this problem in a short time. Of course, this time, in addition to solving the subsequent troubles, it is also to avenge Master Lu. After all, he once promised Master Lu that only traitors will be eliminated, and people's livelihood will not be harmed. Although the old man did not say it clearly at the time, how could he not understand what the other party was thinking? Because of this, Lu Yuan only killed half. Don't think it's too much. The problem of too many officials in the Ming dynasty has begun to appear since the earliest Hongwu period. From the beginning of the Ming dynasty to the Jingde period, the number of officials in the country increased from more than 27,800 to more than 100,000. Although the early Jiajing period carried out a rectification of the officialdom, the number of officials did not decrease significantly. In the Wanli period, the number remained at around 80,000. The phenomenon of multiple officials for one post and multiple officials for one matter is common in the court and local areas, and the job setting is even more chaotic. Of course, the formation of this phenomenon is not accidental. It involves issues of centralization, financial system, social roots, etc., which will not be discussed in detail here. Before leaving, Lu Yuan took a deep look at Emperor Zhuyi. Although the other party concealed it well, Lu Yuan still captured the excitement in his eyes. According to historical books, Emperor Wanli did not attend court for more than 20 years in the later period. A big reason came from the constraints of civil officials. Now Lu Yuan broke the situation violently. I wonder if he can seize the opportunity. After Lu Yuan left, a new storm swept the world again. Although the court intended to cover it up, such a big event could not be covered at all. There are even those who are not afraid of big things and adapted it into a small tune of Jianghu. The wandering fairy is angry and goes to the court. The killing is so dark. For a time, Lu Yuan's reputation in the world has soared again. Related discussions can be heard in teahouses and restaurants across the country. Under this kind of voice, Wudang Shaolin announced that it would seal its gate for 50 years, which undoubtedly boosted the momentum again. Just as the outside world was making a fuss about this, Lu Yuan and Lu Huar stayed in the palace to study Taoist scriptures and history, and rare secret books, including the famous Wanshou Daozong and Yongle Encyclopedia. The former is a Taoist masterpiece, and the latter is an encyclopedia. It took Lu Yuan more than 2 months to read them all. The accumulation of a large amount of knowledge allowed Lu Yuan to integrate what he learned and understood into his own martial arts. Chongqing Gong version 6.7. This method has now been pushed to the extreme that this body can achieve by Lu Yuan. There are higher ideas and thoughts for tempering the body, practicing qi, and keeping healthy, but the body cannot achieve them, so naturally there is no way to practice them. At this point, it is no longer a matter of pure understanding. The level of life limits the stage of blooming. Lu Yuan can only wait silently for the completion of the second stage. On the day before Lu Yuan left, Emperor Wanli Zhuyi came to meet him alone. In fact, Lu Yuan and the others did not deliberately hide their existence. When the palace first discovered it, they were a little nervous, but after a long time, they even took the initiative to provide meals. The content of the meeting was nothing new. It was nothing more than using Master Lu to talk about things and asking Lu Yuan to stay and help him. At the end, Zhuyi even choked and cried, and told all the frustrations of having ambitions but being unable to display them. Lu Yuan was annoyed to hear it. He had already helped him slaughter half of the civil officials, but he couldn't handle it. Lu Yuan didn't know much about the history of the Ming dynasty, but he had heard a sentence: the Ming dynasty fell, and it actually fell during the Wanli period. That it was okay when Zhang Juzhen was alive. After 10 years of painstaking assistance, Zhuyi was still very motivated and had very good performance in military and economic aspects. After Zhang Juzhen left, this guy began to neglect his duties and attended court less and less, until he didn't attend court for decades. Of course, it was also related to the fact that he took Zhang Juzhen as an example, but later found out that he was not as perfect as he imagined, and his mentality collapsed, but more of it was this guy's character. He was really weak and could be bullied. He would get angry at any time and escape when he was angry. In the end, Lu Yuan was too lazy to listen to the other party's complaints, so he knocked him out to shut him up. He took Lu Huar away from the palace. "Where are we going next?" That on the top of the mountain outside the city, Lu Huar asked as she did before every action. Looking at the distant sky, Lu Yuan took a deep breath and smiled happily. Next, of course, we will go to places we have never been to, then see the scenery, feed the animals, eat some delicious food, get married, and have a child. Lu Hua agreed subconsciously, but then looked at Lu Yuan fiercely. Why? You don't want to. Lu Yuan smiled evilly and pinched the other's face. No one will dare to hunt us anymore. That story of Jianghu is over. Now we can live our own lives and go wherever we want. Lu Hua seemed to realize it later. Her smile gradually became brighter. Finally, she shouted and threw herself on Lu Yuan's back. Let's go. Let's go to places we haven't been to. Husband, Lu Hua shouted excitedly, and accidentally said the last two words. Then she suddenly reacted and immediately lay down without saying a word. Ha 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 ha. Lu Yuan raised his head and laughed. After a while, he replied, okay, my wife. On the top of the mountain, the boy was carrying the girl on his back, and the two figures entered the rivers and lakes again. The situation was different from before. In the next few years, the two of them traveled around the world. They went out to the sea, climbed snow peaks, entered deserts, and lay on grasslands. They have left legacies in various places, and have also appeared to guide young boys and girls who longed for the world. The reputation spread outside has become more and more legendary. The stars and rivers rotate, the snow falls silently, the rivers and lakes are far away, and the years are urging people. Looking back, the spring and autumn have changed the world several times. 65 years later, in 1649 AD, the 22nd year of Chongjin, the Ming dynasty was in turmoil. History has gone awry here, perhaps as a result of interference that year. The Ming Empire, which was supposed to end in the 17th year of Chongjin's reign, managed to survive until the 22nd year, but it also entered the final countdown. Compared with the last years of the dynasty, Jianghu is much better. The sparks set in the early years have finally started a prairie fire. The Five Mountains Sword sect has become the new Taishan Beidou, surpassing Shaolin Wudang and becoming a first-rate force. Follow-up emerging sects are springing up like mushrooms after a spring rain, with 5 of them ranking second-rate with Shaolin and Wudang. However, everyone in the world knows that above these major sects, there is a special place that is revered as the holy land of martial arts in the world. There is the best family in the world, the best secret library in the world, and the best master in the world. Jiangsu, Lu family, the head of the family, Lu Yuan, and the mistress, Lu Hua, are both over 10 years old, but they still look like they are in their 20s or 30s. They are pregnant with a son named Lu Yun, who is now in his 60s and looks like a young man as well. Further down the line, Lu Yun has 2 sons, a daughter, and 6 grandchildren. It's April again. In the courtyard of the Lu family, Lu Yuan, dressed in a plain green robe, was sitting by the pond in the courtyard fishing with a fishing rod. The clear eyes are still the same as before, without any trace of the turbidity of the years. Next to her was Lu Hua, who was wearing an off-white robe. Her appearance had not changed much from before, but her temperament had become more pampered and luxurious. She was stroking the strings of the piano and playing a minor tune. Hua, who did you see playing the piano while fishing? Is he playing it for people to listen to, or for the fish to listen to? Lu Yuanyuan complained. When Lu Hua heard this, she just smiled and ignored him. The light and lingering melody blended her affection into the breeze and then reached her sweetheart's ears. Lu Yuan smiled and smiled, occasionally tapping the fishing rod with his fingers to the beat. He was enjoying the moment. Fast forward more than 60 years, a lot has changed, but a lot has remained the same. 40 years ago, Lu Yuan saw Feng Qingyang for the last time. The old man smiled strangely on the top of Mount Hua and used his last sword. It is still unforgettable. 30 years ago, Yu Buchuan and Zhuo Lingchan passed away one after another, leaving the martial arts world without 2 innate talents. 10 years ago, Dongfang came once, and there was no trace of her again. No one knew whether she had taken that step. Oh, and Ling Huchong, the former protagonist, could not be with Ren Yingying after all. Lu Yuan swore that he had no intention of cheating him by leaving behind the skill book. As for himself, the previous eternal life technique, martial arts, swordsmanship, immortality viewpoint, psychic confusion and wandering on the clouds were also unified into one by him 5 years ago and renamed the secret of immortality, boom. When the last note of the song fell, Lu Yuan raised his hand to praise. Lu Huar had already hugged Lu Yuan from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder, and said as playfully as before, Lu Yuan, I want to go out for a walk. Lu Yuan raised his hand for a moment, then immediately smiled and said, okay. Saying goodbye to the children at home, Lu Yuan drove the carriage himself, and the two of them entered the world again just like before, the sound of horse hooves clattering all the way from Suzhou to the west. On the way, Lu Huar seemed to have returned to that flower season again, pulling Lu Yuan along the way, pointing out the places they had been and counting the things they had done, listening to her talk. Lu Yuan added from time to time, vividly restoring the scenes of that year. The two of them seemed not to notice any tiredness. The whole journey passed through Xuanhuan, passed through Qizhou, and crossed Hankou until we arrived at the place where we first met that year, Xianyang City, helping Lu Huar get out of the carriage. The old house where the three of them once lived as a wanderer was long gone, in its place is a pink peach orchard. Lu Yuan, I want to go in and have a look. Okay, let's go see it. He hugged Lu Huar and flew into it. The wind blows the scattered petals, as if a pink gauze covers the earth, welcoming the new life. The sun is dappled, through the sparse clouds, shining on the peach blossoms that are in full bloom but seem to be parting. Every day every petal seems to be soaked in the tenderness and reluctance of the sunset. The two of them landed gently, and the breeze seemed to be unwilling to disturb the petals on the ground. He hugged her softly and sat down on the ground covered with petals. Lu Yuan held the other person in his arms, and the warm energy slowly flowed into the other person's body, not daring to disturb him at all. Lu Yuan. Here, I'm here, Huar. Remember, when we first met, how you greeted me while holding the buns. Lu Huar had a sweet smile on her pale face. How could I forget? Lu Yuan took a deep breath and said with a forced smile. If you come here for the first time, you may not understand that Lao Li's steamed bun shop has been a century-old shop on Tanxi Ancient Street. It is like the soul of Xianyang, the old city, and contains unique memories. Look at this bun skin. Speaking of this, Lu Yuan's voice trembled a little. Lu Huar smiled and continued, white, soft, just poke it gently, it will overflow with juice. Okay, Huar. Lu Yuan interrupted with a trembling voice. Lu Yuan. I'm here. I'm leaving. Blame me. Blame me. Lu Huar shook her head gently. It's my fault. I still couldn't do that. I know you could have done it a long time ago. I'm the one who held you back. No. Huar, you're not wrong at all. I actually don't want to leave, Lu Yuan. The deep reluctance in Lu Huar's eyes almost melted away. She tried hard to raise her hand, but Lu Yuan took the initiative to grab it and put it on her face. After I leave, you have to take good care of yourself. You must take good care of yourself. I know, I will, I swear. Also, the diary in the box in our room must be buried with me. Lu Huar's face was slightly flushed. 70 years. I remember, it's all you. Okay. The hot tears finally fell when she said it's all you. 156 diaries in 72 years, love letters written in a lifetime. The fierce emotions hit Lu Yuan like a tide, but he didn't dare to use any force on his hands. When the other party practiced martial arts and reached the dark power, he couldn't break through. Lu Yuan knew that this day would come. He had tried his best to delay, but it came after all. Lu Huar gradually entered the last moments of his life. Lu Yuan, I don't want to become ugly. Okay. Lu Yuan's voice was hoarse, biting his lips tightly, sealing the other party's internal energy. It's okay, I will wake you up, Huar, I will still carry you on my back. We will go out to explore the world, to peek at the secret book, to steal delicious food, to set off fireworks, to... Lu Yuan couldn't say any more. The person in his arms was smiling, but he was already dead. The suppressed low cry was finally released at this moment. Huar, sleep, wait for me to wake you up. April 17, the 22nd year of Chongjin, the wandering fairy Lu Yuan, who had dominated the world for 70 years, ascended to the right path of the Lu family in Suzhou with his wife Lu Huar. No one knew that the poison fairy of that year had died. In the same year, the children of the Lu family reformed and revolted, and were suppressed by multiple forces at the same time. However, when the Lu family's secret library was opened, a large number of weapons that spanned the times poured into the battlefield, and it took only 1 year to sweep the world and establish the country as Yuan. Someone asked where those weapons came from later. The children of the Lu family replied, the ancestors did it casually back then. Chapter 73 New World. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Peking, 1921, Lilikio Hutong, Lu Yuan stood up, rubbing his still dizzy forehead, looking at his shrunken body under the wide robe, feeling helpless. After secretly burying Lu Huar, Lu Yuan left a few instructions and stopped suppressing his progress. When the world's transformation of itself was completely completed, at that moment, Lu Yuan felt that he had become transparent. The body and soul seemed to have taken off decades of shackles, becoming relaxed and hungry. Then, at this moment, the pure longevity qi in the body for more than 70 years began to be rapidly consumed with a certain point in the dantian as the center, and the huge qi began to feed back the body and soul, until all were exhausted. The dantian turned into chaos. The body and the spirit reached a high degree of unity at this moment. After a long silence, a white spiritual light suddenly appeared in the void. The moment it appeared, a feeling of moving from the heart arose spontaneously. It is invisible and formless, but it fills the world and nourishes all things. In Taoism, it is regarded as the origin of all things in the universe and the realm to be pursued by cultivation. In Confucianism, it is the foundation of human life and wisdom, emphasizing the need to make oneself purer through self-cultivation. In Buddhism, it is a symbol of the realm and wisdom of Buddha, and it is believed that through meditation and enlightenment, one can achieve the realm of unity with Buddha. It is the innate qi that exists in everyone's body. It is also the original qi that gives birth to heaven, earth, people, and all things, and is the basic quality that constitutes heaven, earth, and all things. It is worth mentioning that the body here does not really refer to the body or the soul. The innate qi is not like the internal force, true qi, and acquired qi that can be touched, but exists in the individual life in an abstract sense. It can be regarded as a mysterious and important existence that runs through the body and soul. It can only be perceived when the body and the spirit are highly unified and the heart is quiet. As long as one can perceive the existence of the innate qi, it means that one has a sense of qi, and can use it as a guide to achieve enlightenment and absorb the acquired qi floating in the air around him. This is the theory of practicing qi. At this point, Lu Yuan finally determined the reason why Lu Huar finally passed away. The innate qi in the body is like a candle. It nourishes the body and soul and is consumed all the time. Tempering the body and soul is a way to slow down the consumption of the innate qi, but no matter how it is slowed down, it will eventually be exhausted, especially in the case of innate deficiency. After Lu Yuan's entire life broke through the innate, the urging from the world also appeared. He could feel that the world of Xiao had become a little fragile for him, just like he could not lift a steel ball in clear water. The higher mass made it impossible for him to stay in this world. Note that urging is used here instead of rejection. Now that Lu Yuan has achieved harmony between man and nature in this world, he can naturally sense that the attitude of the world of Xiao towards him is inclined to joy, just like when he was promoted from primary school to junior high school, the first place in the class. The teacher and the school applauded and sent him off, without any reluctance. After leaving instructions, Lu Yuan no longer lingered and flew away according to his feelings. The taste of crossing the world is indescribable, and the concept of time and space is completely lost, or in other words, it is impossible to observe and understand with his current strength. He only knew that he was wrapped in a burst of light, and when the stretching feeling appeared, his body began to shrink, and the soul was transmitted with comfortable coolness. At the same time, he clearly felt that the innate qi in his body, which was already not much, began to increase miraculously. That's right, the reverse growth of life is a miracle. In the process, it seems that there are some unspeakable things that are added to his body. His only feeling is that he is more complete. When he woke up again, he had returned to the age of 8, the heavy feeling coming from the ground under his feet and the high concentration of acquired chi in the air around him, which far exceeded that of the world of Xiao, all proved that he had come to another world. As for the reverse growth on his body, whether it was a benefits for excellent students or a standard for ascenders, he had no way of knowing. Back to the present, wrapping the wide robe around his waist, he looked around. The appearance of the old brick alley made him unable to judge the time and place at once. He needed to find a way to figure it out as soon as possible. However, when he noticed that 3 short and thin men were blocking the alley and walking towards him, he had a way. He thought about the means he could use now. Chi training has not started yet, because he is worried about the incompatibility of the exercises, so he dare not try it for the time being. The original national martial arts Huajin cultivation, after being promoted to Xiantian and going through a round of reverse growth, also needs to be completely rebuilt, but this process is very fast, almost equivalent to switching from driving a van to driving a supercar. It is unfamiliar to start with, and it is very fast to get started. As for the polishing of the body, there is no shortcut, and he can only stand again. In other words, the only things he can use now are his moves and mental means. While he was thinking, the 3 of them had surrounded him. As soon as he opened his mouth, the familiar Beijing dialect startled Lu Yuan, so it was this Beijing. Before the other party finished his lines, Lu Yuan had already moved. Although his 8-year-old body was not sculpted, everything was at the peak of this age. He turned sideways, circled his chest, cut his knees, and arched his elbows to hit his heart and the top of his head. Lu Yuan just stepped around half a circle, and the 3 of them were already howling, falling down, and dizzy. He shook his forearm and found that he really couldn't control his strength. After observing the surroundings, Lu Yuan came to the only sober man. "Young master, look at me." The heart-seducing technique was activated, and Lu Yuan frowned instantly. Is the mental strength of an ordinary person so strong? 2 minutes later, Lu Yuan was forced to end the questioning. He immediately stepped forward and made 3 more hand knives. Because he was worried that he could not control his strength well, he also deliberately turned the eyelids of the 3 people. After confirming that he had become an idiot, he took away $2 silver and a few crumpled banknotes and quickly left. He had to find a place to change clothes first. He had figured out the time and place, but he didn't expect that this place was the Republic of China, 1921, the 10th year of the Republic of China, but this was definitely not an ordinary Republic of China. Such a strong acquired chi in the air must have bred extraordinary power. Unfortunately, the man knew too little, and he was a grassroots rogue. After asking for a long time, he only asked about Baiyun Temple. This is not easy to judge. Lu Yuan, who was thinking, observed all the way and did not walk out of the alley. He soon found the target. Seeing that there was no one around, Lu Yuan climbed up the wall and turned over lightly into the courtyard. 10 minutes later, he had changed into an old grey robe and jacket, which was a little big, but more suitable than his previous one. He tied up his long hair. The original clothes were not cut by Hua himself, so Lu Yuan did not feel any psychological pressure when he lost them. After changing his clothes, Lu Yuan walked out of the alley to inquire about the news. An hour later, Lu Yuan, sitting in front of the tea stall, had bright eyes. Beiping Jian Society, Longhu Mountain in Jiangxi, Sanyi Gate in Fujian, and the Baiyun Temple that he first knew. Lu Yuan drank the tea in the bowl in one gulp, put down the tea bowl, and smiled. Very good, I have come to the right place. This is the world under one person. Chapter 74 Planning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why do we say we are in the right place? First of all, this world is on the orthodox path of chi refining, and there are also examples of becoming immortals. Secondly, although the cultivation system in this world of under one person is complex, as far as the Chinese continent is concerned, the cultivation methods of Buddhism and Taoism both follow the concept of dual cultivation of nature and life, which coincides with the path that Lu Yuan is taking. So what is dual cultivation of nature and life? Nature usually refers to the inner Tao of a person, including heart, thought, temperament, character, spirit, etc. It represents the cultivation of a person's spiritual consciousness, morality, and personality. There is also a general but easier to understand term, that is, the primordial spirit, or more figuratively, the soul, life, refers to the external Tao of a person, including body, life, energy, destiny, matter, etc. It emphasizes the training of the physical body, health and longevity at the physiological level, and can also be replaced by a more easily understood general term, the physical body. Then add qi refining, it just corresponds to the essence, physical body, qi, spirit, soul, in Taoist practice. After knowing that this is the world of under one person, Lu Yuan quickly reviewed everything he knew in his mind. This world is different from Xiao, and the gap between the upper and lower limits is very large. People's strength will not decrease with age, but will become more powerful as they get older. The elegant name of old age hot-blooded comics is not a joke. This makes it difficult for him to sneak into the sect to steal the inheritance like Xiao world, otherwise he might encounter a big surprise, but he must eventually borrow the skills of hundreds of schools. In this era where one's own methods are more important than life, except for stealing, he can't touch the real thing at all. In this case, he has to rely on his understanding and steal openly. Joining the full nature is obviously not a good way. The righteous way is hated by everyone and it is too bad for character, as for what is full nature. This word is also one of the basic concepts of Taoism. It can be traced back to Yang Zhu in the spring and autumn period. He is a thinker of the same level as Confucius and Mozi. Yang Zhu advocated preserving the nature and preserving the truth, which means to follow the nature of nature. If life is already there, it should be fully lived, and if things are nourishing, it should be enjoyed, but one should not go against fate and envy longevity, or gather things and burden the body. To put it bluntly, it emphasizes personal freedom and compliance with nature. It is believed that people should maintain the true nature given by nature and not be burdened by external things. To be honest, Lu Yuan still agrees with part of it, but the changes of the times have gradually led the Xuanqing organization to go astray. Nowadays, many Xuanqing members have misunderstood or misinterpreted Yang Zhu's preserving the nature and preserving the truth thought. They interpret personal freedom and compliance with nature as indulgence in desires, disregarding moral constraints, and even use this as an excuse to do many bad things. This has led to a saying circulating in the world today: if you see Xuanqing, you can kill him directly. That this kind of organization is not suitable for his development. In fact, there is a very suitable way: become a disciple. Lu Yuan walked to the street, stepped on the surrounding environment, and was also thinking about the possibility of becoming a disciple. First of all, if he joins a sect, he will inevitably be constrained. If it is in line with his heart, it is fine, and he can listen to reasonable words, but if it is completely contrary to his heart, and he is controlled by some pedantic dogma, saying that this is the rule, then he will definitely defect directly. Although he doesn't want to admit it, this is indeed a kind of arrogance, and it is also an extreme self-centeredness. With this kind of mentality, it is a problem whether the sect can accept him. He can't always tell others that my heart is determined and what I pursue is transcendence. You can convince me with reason, but don't think about breaking my bottom line. As soon as this was said, it is estimated that he didn't become a disciple, and his dislike was already full. Some people may ask, if this is the case, why be so stubborn? Compromise a little, and learn skills first. But if he really did this, he would not have chosen to kill the Jinui in the first place. Of course, there are many benefits to joining a sect, such as sect inheritance and leaning on a big tree for shade. In the future, he will use the reputation of the sect to reasonably come to the sect to learn, and with his understanding, he accidentally understands the methods of the sect. This can't be blamed on him. Thinking of this, it would be more tempting to become a disciple. Lu Yuan subconsciously thought of Baiyun Temple, Wudong, Sanyi Sect, Chuanjin Ziang, Mao Shan Shangqing, and many other sections. In the end, he found that Longhu Mountain Tianshi Mansion was the most suitable. First of all, the leader of the Taoist sect is very famous, and he can read thousands of Taoist scriptures. Secondly, Longhu Mountain pays great attention to the dual cultivation of sex and life. Finally, and the most important point, their thunder method. They also take the path of the 5 qi in the body, which is very suitable for Lu Yuan. The foundation he built in the world of Xiaoao was the transformation of the 5 elements, the harmony of the 5 qi, and the cooperation of yin and yang. In this way, the inheritance of Longhu Mountain seems to be specially built for him. Of course, there is another person Lu Yuan is looking forward to, Zhang Jiwei. This is a person in this world who is almost full of talent and bones. Let's put it this way, in the original comics, the author positioned him as Zhang Sanfeng, later netizens even named the entire comic under one person on him, just like the saying, he stands there alone, and all living beings are in front of him. Another example, when he is happy, he is inferior to others, and when he is unhappy, he is inferior to others. This is an excellent fellow Taoist on the path of cultivation, even better than Dongfang Bubi at the beginning. The more he thought about it, the more active Lu Yuan's plan to become a disciple became. If he is so hesitant, he might as well try it first. If he really doesn't accept it, the worst thing is to learn secretly. Although it is very difficult under the old master's nose, can a person be suffocated to death by urine? Having made a decision in his heart, Lu Yuan glanced at the tails behind him from the corner of his eye. After sighing that the world is really chaotic, he stepped into a drugstore. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Yuan walked out of the back door of the medicine shop, carrying 5 packages of herbal medicine and spending $1 silver. Let's talk about the purchasing power of silver dollars in the current era. In 1917, a family of 5 in Shanghai needed about $15 silver per month. Around 1921, male workers could earn about $10 silver a month, while female workers could earn about $8 silver. Using this data and comparing it with later generations, it is equivalent to about 500 yuan per silver dollar. After getting rid of the people following him, Lu Yuan bought some miscellaneous props and food on the street, followed the same spot he had stepped on before, and entered a private house that had been vacant for a long time. No need to be surprised. In 1921, due to factors such as war, political changes, and social unrest, many original aristocratic, bureaucratic, and merchant families abandoned their residences for various reasons, which resulted in some residences becoming vacant. Lu Yuan's previous visit was to find a house like this. He needed to stay for one night, make some preparations, and at the same time take a good look at his current situation. Otherwise, for an 8-year-old child, in this special period, the journey from Peking to Longhu Mountain in Jiangxi province is more than 1,000 kilometers, and even taking a train is not very safe. Lu Yuan never came out since he entered the house. He spent the entire afternoon processing the herbs and some props he bought, and then after dinner, he seriously checked on his qi refining status. He first ran the exercises according to the secret of immortality and tried to absorb and refine the acquired qi. As a result, as soon as the power was exercised, the familiar qi was born, and there was no trace of acquired qi at all. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows. Feeling something was wrong, he used the ray of immortality energy that was born in the Qigong wandering on the clouds. If he were in Swordsman world, with this little bit of energy, he would at least be standing still. With a trying mentality, he jumped upwards, and ended up 1 meter off the ground. Chapter 75 Sorting Out. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. As his figure fell, Lu Yuan's face turned dark. He could not tell whether the 1 meter he jumped just now was due to his jumping or the effect of his true qi. In short, he found that his true qi could no longer support his body. It felt like taking the battery out of a toy car and putting it into an energy-saving car. The energy was too low and the density was too high. It could not be carried at all. Google search for TWKAN, and Lu Yuan always felt that something was wrong. In fact, according to the Taoist scriptures he had read, there are 2 ways to transform the acquired qi. One is to inhale the acquired qi in the surrounding air into the body through breathing and refine it. The other is to extract it through food, which can also transform the acquired qi. His current situation seems to be missing a link. It would be great if there was a qi refining method in this world at this time. Even the most basic one would be fine. Putting aside this thought, Lu Yuan tried to inhale the acquired qi in the air and refine it using the Qigong method of the secret of longevity. It was indeed effective at first, but when the qi was introduced into the dantian after the circulation, a discomfort immediately came from the lower abdomen. He did not hesitate and quickly led the acquired qi in reverse. Then he opened his mouth. Hiccup. The scene was somewhat awkward, but Lu Yuan did not care. This was the second failure, which was normal. After all, it was a new cultivation system. He did not rush to try again, and his thoughts sank into his mind, and he sorted out the relevant knowledge in his mind first, because there was always a sense of disobedience. The great Tao is invisible, giving birth to the heaven and earth. The great Tao is ruthless, running the sun and the moon. the great Tao is nameless, nourishing all things. If a person can always be quiet, the heaven and earth will all return to him. Those who cultivate the spirit must first cultivate the heart, and those who refine the qi should calm down. The spirit of the upper elixir, the qi of the middle elixir, and the essence of the lower elixir. Lu Yuan suddenly opened his eyes, and a strange expression flashed across his face. He seemed to know where the problem was. He tried to inhale a breath of acquired qi again. As the technique ran a big circle, when he entered the dantian again, Lu Yuan did not enter the lower elixir again, but changed the last meridian direction and slowly tried to contact the middle elixir. The next moment, a silky influx appeared, and the qi entered the middle elixir without a trace of stagnation. So that's it. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up, and he figured out a lot at this moment. It's still the same sentence: the spirit of the upper elixir, the qi of the middle elixir, and the essence of the lower elixir. In the theory of Taoism and Chinese medicine, the human body is divided into 3 dantians, namely the upper, middle and lower dantians, which correspond to different functions and energy storage points. The upper dantian is located at the ancestral orifice between the 2 eyebrows, also known as the Yuan Palace. It is the place where the spirit is hidden, and it is also the primordial spirit, that is, the place where the soul is in a broad sense. The middle dantian is located in the heart between the 2 breasts, that is, the location of the Tanzhong point, which is the place where the qi is stored. The qi here is the acquired qi cultivated by Taoists. Therefore, it can be said that the middle dantian is specially used for practicing qi in Taoist practice. As for the lower dantian, it is located 3 inches below the navel, that is, the location of the Guanyuan point, and is considered to be the place where the essence is stored. The essence here has multiple meanings, including both reproductive essence and the essence and life energy in the human body. This is the main place for refining essence into qi. This is why Lu Yuan failed before. How can there not be problems when using the original gasoline engine to burn aerospace fuel? From this, we can see that the essence in the food is transformed into internal force, and then from internal force into true qi, and finally true qi helps to promote to the innate. This whole process focuses on the lower dantian, which is the first stage of Taoist practice, refining essence into qi. The practice of refining qi now is naturally considered to have entered the second stage, refining qi into spirit. By analogy, Lu Yuan has already vaguely understood what to practice at this stage. Of course, everything is just speculation. Continue to focus on the present. Lu Yuan tried again according to the deduction just now. This time he still chose to only refine true qi, and after the true qi appeared, it was naturally introduced into the lower dantian to accumulate true qi. At first it was okay, 1 strand, 2 strands, 3 strands, until the 15th strand. All the previous true qi condensed at this moment, turned into a strand of acquired qi, and actively flowed from the lower dantian into the middle dantian. Sure enough, his speculation was correct. When the body enters the innate state, the true qi generated in the body will automatically turn into a more suitable acquired qi when it accumulates to a certain amount. Lu Yuan showed satisfaction in his eyes. He stood up and went to the courtyard. He applied a wisp of acquired qi to walking on the clouds. The familiar feeling of soaring appeared again, and he jumped more than 4 feet high. In this process, through practical attempts, Lu Yuan could clearly feel that acquired qi was much more active than true qi. This means that the changes driven by qi will be more complicated. The most direct change is that Lu Yuan can actually hover directly in the air and fall for 2 full breaths. You know, he didn't borrow a trace of the power of heaven and earth just now. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan closed his eyes slightly, and his extraordinary understanding helped him quickly adapt to the general trend of this world. Soon when he opened his eyes again, the familiar feeling of borrowing the power came back again. Not only that, he tried to concentrate and waved his arms, and the airflow within a radius of 5 meters around him turned from static to dynamic, rolling up the dust on the ground, and the next second it turned into calm under Lu Yuan's control. Very good, the domain is also fine, but the range has been reduced to a radius of 5 meters. Lu Yuan once again called upon the second strand of qi in the middle dantian. This time he jumped up, and he used the momentum to generate a breeze under his feet. He was empty like that for 5 full breaths. After landing again, Lu Yuan was a little excited. The plasticity of acquired qi is much stronger than that of true qi. He was about to continue to try the 5 qi conversion properties. As a result, he found that during the period of time just tried, the acquired qi transformed by Changxing Gong in the middle dantian was only 5 strands in total. This is too slow. For Lu Yuan, who is used to using true qi lavishly, this is simply unacceptable. In fact, putting aside the shortcomings of life tempering, but in terms of qi training, this speed is already quite fast. Changxing Gong is a practice derived by Lu Yuan from the entire world of Xiaoao. In terms of the use of human meridians and organs, except for the limitations brought by the world's energy level, it is already quite brilliant. This can be judged by looking at how many exercises in this world can be used to practice qi by themselves. So far, the only one that has been clearly explained is the old farmer's skill that Feng Baobao passed on to Zhang Chulan 80 or 90 years later. It's just that there is no reference for the time being, so Lu Yuan is not clear about these. He looked at the rich acquired qi in the air around him, and immediately thought of the qi-absorbing method he had worked out when he was studying the star-absorbing art. His eyes lit up, and without any hesitation, he turned back to the house to modify the technique, and when he left, he excitedly asked, "Huar, help me look." Halfway through his words, Lu Yuan suddenly got stuck. He stopped where he was, and stood alone in the dark and empty yard for a long time. After a long time, he exhaled, silently arranged something in the yard, and then walked into the house, sitting cross-legged. He did not start modifying the technique immediately, but calmed down for a long time before suppressing the loneliness and longing. Next, the first technique upgrade in this world begins. Chapter 76 Train. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. This time, the upgrade and modification mainly involves 3 aspects. Remember the domain name of this site, Taiwan Novel Network. First, the 2 ways of practicing qi, food extraction and breathing, will involve different meridian directions, so Lu Yuan needs to unify and integrate them. Secondly, add the method of absorbing qi to increase the efficiency of refining qi. Finally, because the body has entered the innate state, the root bone meridians have been strengthened. And considering the activity and purity of the acquired qi, as well as the use of the middle dantian, the overall meridian route needs to be adjusted to better adapt to this world. Closing his eyes, various ideas kept popping up in Lu Yuan's mind. He resisted the urge to overdeduce the bold ideas that suddenly emerged. According to the purpose he had set in advance, he quickly listed several modification plans. Such modifications within the existing knowledge system were really not difficult for Lu Yuan. Soon, the relevant specific simulation in his mind began. After several attempts of fine-tuning, the content of the new version of the technique was finally finalized. Version 1.1 of the Secret of Immortality also appeared. When he opened his eyes again, it was already the second half of the night. He went to the courtyard to check briefly and confirm that the arrangement had not been triggered. He then returned to the house and officially started to operate the new technique. As his mind moved, the major acupoints in his body immediately burst into suction. A large amount of acquired qi floating in the air quickly gathered and was sucked into his body. However, before he could think about refining it, a feeling of bursting came suddenly. Lu Yuan's expression instantly became ferocious, and blood flowed from the corners of his mouth and nose. He did not dare to hesitate for a second, and immediately reversed the technique, opened the major acupoints in his body, and opened his mouth at the same time, expelling all the qi he had just inhaled. The clothes around him fluttered. After a while, Lu Yuan calmed down the discomfort in his body. He lay on his back on the ground, smiled helplessly, and his face was full of lingering fear. Sure enough, it was a bit too hasty. Now he finally understood why people said that practicing qi was a slow process. When there were so many acquired qi in the world, it's not that people can't find a way to absorb it faster, but that they can't refine it after absorbing it. It's like a van on the highway, with the accelerator pedal pressed to the bottom and about to explode, and you keep pouring gasoline into it. The driver and body represent sex and life, and gasoline is qi. Without a strong sex and life cultivation to support it, blindly absorbing will only have one end, and it will be blown up. He just did this, but fortunately Lu Yuan had a strong control over the meridians of his body, and he chose to return as soon as he noticed something wrong, so he only suffered some minor injuries, and there was no need to pay too much attention to it. The conditioning effect of the technique itself can heal in half a day. however, this also made Lu Yuan once again feel the importance of sex and life cultivation. The two complement each other with qi training. If the cultivation of life is strong, the qi training will be fast. If you want to improve your life training, you have to practice qi constantly. Of course, the method of tempering life is also very important. There are also methods of tempering life in the secret of longevity, but they are not very profound. The former comes from the Yi Jin Jing, Qian Kundaneng Yi, Chun Yang Wu Ji Gong and other methods, and the effect is not even as good as the development of the body by the national martial arts. The latter comes from the method of Chongqing visualization, but these are all from the low-level martial arts world after all, and the use of qi is very little, far less mature than this world, which is a shortcoming that he urgently needs to make up for. Thoughts are pulled back to the present. Lu Yuan sat up and started the test again. This time he opened the suction of the body's acupoints very small to test the limit of the body's refining speed. In this way, through continuous adjustment and comparison, he finally found a balance. On weekdays, the method runs automatically, coupled with the absorption and refining all the time, although it was different from what he had expected. As his life cultivation improved, he would be able to reach full power sooner or later. The next morning, Lu Yuan, who had finished standing in the courtyard, wiped the sweat from his forehead. He was quite satisfied with the changes in his internal strength. After an hour of training in the morning, his martial arts realm was restored to the dark strength level. Of course, it was only a simple recovery of the realm, and the polishing and development of the body was far from complete. After a simple breakfast, Lu Yuan took out some things he had prepared yesterday. 10 minutes later, a middle-aged man in a black jacket and robe, short stature, and rough skin walked out. Disguise was very simple for Lu Yuan, but his height was a flaw. He was only 8 years old now. Even if he was in excellent physical condition, he was only 1.3 meters tall. Through the bone-stretching technique, he increased his height by 5 centimeters and the soles of his shoes by 7 centimeters, so he was only 1.42 meters tall. But this was better than an 8-year-old child going out on the street alone. Feeling the qi accumulated in his body for half a night, the 5-colored light flashed between his fingers, and Lu Yuan felt relieved. For a moment, he even wanted to fly over, but he realized that this was not Xiaoao, and the risk factor was too high, so he had to give up. Leaving the house, Lu Yuan went straight to the train station. Now it is 1921. There are 2 larger train stations in Beiping, namely Qianmen Railway Station and Changxindian Railway Station. Because you have to take a direct ride to Nanchang, the other smaller train stations are not considered, and Lu Yuan's current location is closest to Changxindian Railway Station, so he naturally chose the nearest one. Unfortunately, plans cannot keep up with changes. Before he arrived in Changxindian, he saw a group of people holding banners in a demonstration. At a glance, there were thousands of people, and the most speechless thing is that the banner reads Changxindian Railway Workers Association. He immediately had a bad premonition. When the crowd approached, he grabbed a parade leaflet that floated over and read the content on it. Wow, there were only 8 words between the lines: increase wages and improve treatment. Lu Yuan still didn't give up. He stopped a person in the team and asked if the train could still depart today. The other party gave him a look of idiot. Fortunately, seeing that he really had something to take a train, after all, he was also a worker in the railway system, so he asked him to go to Qianmen East Station to have a look. Lu Yuan, who had a bad start, could only cross most of Beijing and come to Qianmen Railway Station. When he arrived here, there were already quite a few people on the scene. Obviously, they were forced to come here because of the parade over there. After squeezing for a while, it was finally Lu Yuan's turn. During this period, the identity system was not yet perfect, and you only needed money to buy tickets. Are there any tickets to Nanchang? The ticket seller shook his head when he heard this. You can't go. Either you wait a few days, or you go to Tianjin to transfer. Can you go to Tianjin? Yes. Then give me one. Lu Yuan decisively paid. After buying the ticket and squeezing out of the crowd, he was sweating all over. Lu Yuan followed the flow of people to the platform. When he was sighing at the atmosphere of the times, an uncomfortable gaze was staring at him like a hook. Lu Yuan remained calm and subconsciously checked his disguise to make sure there were no flaws. He was immediately confused and didn't understand what the problem was. He didn't look back. After checking the ticket and getting on the train, he quickly walked into the carriage. What caught his eye was the long wooden seats with a very modern atmosphere. With the passengers blocking him, he easily shook off the gaze. However, as soon as he found a seat and sat down, the gaze appeared again. By giving up his seat to the person next to him, Yuan saw from the corner of his eye that it was an old man dressed as a Taoist priest. The old black Taoist robe was matched with a Taoist hat that had been washed out of shape. The drooping brim of the hat covered most of his face, revealing only the wrinkled chin and a mysterious smile at the corner of his mouth. While Yuan was paying attention, in the front private room, 3 men in white Taoist robes had just taken their seats. The leader had a head of white hair that was the most eye-catching. His appearance and temperament were both extraordinary. Although the 2 men beside him were not as good as him, their gestures were also not like ordinary people. "Master, it's Huang Jian, the child kidnapper of Quan Xing. He seems to have set his sights on that man." "Yes, he is a child who has just received qi and doesn't know how to hide yet." "Then what should we?" "No hurry, there are many people on the bus, let's wait and see." Chapter 77 Old Dao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A whistle blew from the platform. It meant that the ticket checking process had ended and the train could depart normally. The train whistled in response, and then a large cloud of white steam rose up with a smell of coal slag. The body of the train began to accelerate while vibrating continuously. Yuan, who was sitting there, swayed slightly with the train. He looked out the window. On the surface, he was just like an ordinary passenger, but in fact, he was checking himself. There must be something wrong. Taiwan Novel Network. Since there was no flaw in the disguise, it was very likely that it was a problem with qi. Before going out to the street, he temporarily stopped absorbing qi from the outside world and refined it, and turned to digesting food in his body for extraction, in order to prevent people of the same path from sensing the flow of qi around him and seeing the clues. Now it seems that it is still not hidden enough. He lowered his head slightly to look at himself, and tried to feel the position of the old Taoist. Everything was calm. In his perception, the old Taoist was just an ordinary person, but this was obviously impossible. Was it because of the fluctuation of the qi ball in the dantian? Yuan's eyes flickered. He tried to calm down and sense the whole train and observe from a wider perspective. Soon, with intentional perception, he found that if the whole train was a flowing lake, then his position was like a vortex in the lake. If he observed carefully, he would be discovered directly. So that's it. Yuan's heart was slightly relieved. As long as he knew the reason, everything would be easy. As for how to hide, he already had an idea. Time kept passing in the shaking. From Beijing to Tianjin, more than 100 kilometers, this train ran for more than 5 hours. Don't be surprised, this is the result after speeding up. Like Su Shichang in the late Qing dynasty, it took 7 hours to take a train from Beijing to Tianjin. It was 1897. He even sighed in his diary that the speed was too fast. It can only be said that this is the characteristic of the times. When he arrived in Tianjin, Yuan seemed to have noticed nothing. He followed the crowd to the ticket office to buy a ticket to Nanchang. During the process, he could feel that gaze was staring at him. The ticket purchase process was smooth, but the departure time was 5:30 in the evening, and it was only 2 o'clock now. He had to wait for more than 3 hours. Yuan didn't think much about it. He put the ticket in his pocket and walked out with the crowd. The old Taoist behind him really followed him, but before he went far, Yuan's figure disappeared in the interlaced figures, and this time, the eye-catching qi ball disappeared with him. At the moment when the qi ball disappeared, the old Taoist's footsteps paused obviously. At the same time, the 3 white-clothed figures following at the back did the same. "Master, it disappeared." It was the disciple who spoke first. It seems that he is a disciple of the inheritance. Since he knows how to change his appearance, why didn't he hide before? Maybe he forgot. "Master, are we still following Huang Jian?" "Of course, he has abducted too many children. It's rare to meet him. How can we let him go?" "Hey, that's his bad luck." The young disciple couldn't help but laugh. On the other side, after getting rid of the other party, Yuan took a detour and borrowed some money from several kind people to buy some biscuits, dried meat and clothes, because the subsequent journey would take up to 2.5 days. On the way back, Lu Yuan found a deserted place and was about to change his face again. As a result, when he looked up, he saw that the intersection ahead had been blocked by the old Taoist, and there was also a very flattering monkey spirit boy beside him. At this moment, the other party was pointing this way to the old Taoist. The old Taoist was very satisfied and threw a silver dollar to the other party, which made him very happy. Then the old Taoist waved his hand, and the other party withdrew far away. "My friend, I've been looking for you for a long time." The old Taoist came forward with a hoarse voice. "You found me with the help of that child?" Lu Yuan stood still. "Dogs have their own ways, rats have their own ways, and you call him a child, so you may not be that old. I think I'm good at disguise. How did you judge my age, because of chi? I have some tricks." As he spoke, the old Taoist was less than 10 meters away from Lu Yuan. "What tricks, can you tell me?" Lu Yuan still stood there, and the wind blew the fallen leaves under his feet. The old Taoist was a little surprised by this question, and then his smile widened. "Of course, as long as you follow me." Dingling-galing. Without any signs, before the old Taoist finished speaking, a copper bell sounded from his sleeves. In an instant, Lu Yuan's eyes became blurred. Dingling-galing. The bell rang again, but the old Taoist didn't approach further. Instead, he shook out a yellow talisman from his sleeve and threw it at Lu Yuan. Just when it was about to hit, Lu Yuan slightly turned sideways and dodged the talisman. "Little brother, you are quite a thief," Lu Yuan said with regret. However, the old Taoist smiled unchanged, but his eyes narrowed. He retracted his right hand into his sleeve and took out another talisman, but Lu Yuan couldn't give him another chance. Without any warning, a platinum sword aura was instantly ejected by Lu Yuan. The white light penetrated the air, so fast that the old Taoist only had time to turn his head to the side. Swish! The old Taoist hat was directly pierced, and the sharp sword energy scratched the old Taoist's scalp. Blood instantly dyed half of his face red. He stabilized his body in embarrassment, with a gloomy expression. "Sword energy. You are Kunlun." However, before he finished speaking, his pupils shrank, because the figure opposite him had disappeared. He immediately used his chi to retreat quickly, and at the same time, he patted his Taoist robe, and a white light suddenly lit up around his body, but the next second the white light shook violently. He was hit by 2 sword energies in succession. The old Taoist kept moving, and took this opportunity to take out a talisman with his sword fingers. The talisman paper in his left hand was directly attached to his body, which greatly increased his speed, and the talisman paper in his right hand stood in front of him. The Netherworld command: borrow the law to descend the spirit, seal the ghost and obey my command. After he finished speaking, the talisman paper, which was much thicker than ordinary talismans, ignited black mist with a hissing sound. The temperature around him suddenly became cold. "Go!" As the old Taoist pointed, the black soul wrapped in the cold wind quickly approached Lu Yuan. Facing a ghost for the first time, Lu Yuan felt the brutality and coldness from the black fog. He frowned and didn't want to make contact with the other party at all. He fully developed his Qigong, making the ghost unable to catch up for a while. He then shot out a red yang sword with his backhand and hit the ghost's body. It can be clearly felt that at that moment, it seemed that part of the energy in the ghost's body was neutralized. The ghost's body immediately let out a miserable howl, which made people wonder where the sound came from. The old Taoist next to him, who noticed that the ghost's possession was unsuccessful, had already regretted provoking Lu Yuan. He thought it was a rookie, but it turned out that the means were fierce and scary. He now suspected that the other party was deliberately baiting him, but at this time, it was too late to retreat. He didn't know when a small black object with patina appeared in his hand. It looked like a turtle shell with 6 holes on it. Just when he was about to put it to his mouth to play, the old Taoist's face suddenly changed, quickly turning from white to purple, and then he vomited a mouthful of black blood. He looked at Lu Yuan in disbelief. And Lu Yuan seemed to have been waiting for this moment. He accelerated to get rid of the ghost and approached the old Taoist. Without any hesitation, he threw the 5-colored palm that had been accumulated for a long time. Chapter 78 Dialogue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 3-meter-long 5-color palm, as soon as it appeared, was so rude that it didn't make any sense. The strong wind blew in the face, making the old Taoist's face tremble. At this moment, his heart was alarmed. He had no time to dodge, and he tore open his life-saving talisman. In an instant, yellow light flashed, and the shadows of the 12 gods surrounded and protected him. Because it was too iconic, even Lu Yuan guessed its name, the 6 Ding and 6 Jia talismans. However, even so, the 5-color palm pressed the old Taoist into the ground. There was a loud bang. The ground cracked, the surrounding houses shook, and countless tiles fell. Lu Yuan waved his hand to sweep away the smoke and dust, revealing a palm print pit 2 meters underground. The old Taoist was covered in blood, his bones were broken and deformed, and the whole person was dying. Obviously, at the last moment, the 6 Ding and 6 Jia talismans couldn't stop it. Swish! The white sword shot into the deep pit and immediately finished the job. The ghost that was chasing in the air was startled at the moment when the old Taoist died, and stopped in the air for a moment in confusion. Lu Yuan took the opportunity to shoot 3 red sun swords, piercing the ghost's body. This time, perhaps because of too much neutralization energy, the ghost's body wailed and began to disintegrate continuously until it disappeared completely. Lu Yuan looked at the deep pit again. Although he had just borrowed the power of heaven and earth, the power of this big slap was indeed much stronger than in the world of Xiao. Different from the true Qi version, the 5-element slap composed of Qi is extremely stable. Unless the slap is completely destroyed in an instant, the slap will repair itself during the flight based on the principle of the mutual generation of the 5 elements. However, because he currently has too little Qi in his body, he can't play the slap as a flat attack, ordinary attack method, like in the world of Xiao. He heard that many people were rushing here. Lu Yuan jumped down the palm pit, picked up the old Taoist's body and left quickly. The monkey-like young man who saw everything in the distance finally had the strength to stand up and was about to leave with the help of the wall. Whoosh! A stone shot from a distance and pierced his head. A quarter of an hour later, Lu Yuan, who had finished touching the corpse and changed his face and dress, came back to the street. The battlefield in the distance was now surrounded by people. Lu Yuan didn't care, carrying the things he bought, preparing to find a place to solve dinner. At this moment, in addition to silver and money, he also had 5 talismans, a broken bell, and a shao, musical instrument, of unknown material in his arms. Lu Yuan didn't recognize the talisman, but the latter too should be a kind of magic weapon. It can be kept for future research reference. Turning a street, Lu Yuan found a wonton stall nearby. Just after taking a bite, he noticed that someone was walking towards him quickly. Looking up, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows. The man was a young man in a white robe, with short black hair and stubble, and he had a sullen face. "Why did you kill the child in the end?" The other party came to him and asked. Lu Yuan put down the spoon and bowed. "Who is this brother?" "Chongqing from Sanyi sect." "Oh. It turned out to be brother Chongqing. Don't try to get close to me, and don't talk like an adult. I'm uncomfortable. I ask you, why did you kill the child?" Lu Yuan looked at the other party calmly. "Brother Chongqing, is the child a relative of yours?" "What's your position when you ask this?" This question was asked politely, but in fact it was saying, "What the hell does it have to do with you? It's just a child. Even if he made a mistake, you shouldn't kill him directly." Chongqing stared at Lu Yuan with sharp eyes. This made Lu Yuan laugh. He didn't know whether this man was stupid or naive. If it were normal times, he would turn around and leave, and would never argue with a fool. But today, or right now, it's not possible. He asked the other party. Brother Chongqing should have seen the whole process. "What, you still want to silence him?" Chongqing sneered. "Since brother Chongqing knows everything, I would like to ask, if it were you, how would you deal with the child?" "Of course, give him a small punishment and a big warning. And let him go to harm others next time. Today I have the means, but what if it is an ordinary person in the future? Just because of your small punishment and a big warning, you let a source of disaster go. You fart." Brother Chongqing, demeanor. Chongqing stared. "If you give him a punishment, he will definitely be cautious next time. How can he become a source of disaster as you said?" Lu Yuan couldn't help it again and shrugged his shoulders. "What do you mean?" "I say, brother Chongqing, you can go back and look at the body of that child now, and see how many scars he has. I tell you, there are many children like this on the street. If you cut off one of their hands today, they will use the other hand to do the same thing tomorrow. It's not that they are bad by nature, but they want to live. Do you understand? If he was just stealing today, I wouldn't even look at him, but he is an accomplice today. He wants to take my life with others, and you, Brother Chongqing, think I shouldn't kill him, just because he hasn't grown up yet. Lu Yuan paused here and didn't say anything more. Instead, he picked up the soup spoon and scooped up the wonton and put it into his mouth. Chongqing frowned. Even if what you said is true, they shouldn't be killed. They just lack supervision and education. That's right. Lu Yuan swallowed the wonton and smiled. Brother Chongqing, you are right. Then who will supervise and educate me? Or you? Chongqing frowned again. What you said makes sense, but at least those of us who practice the right path must maintain compassion. Lu Yuan felt that he didn't have the same views as this man and it was useless to talk any more. He turned to the table next to him and asked directly, Chiefswoman, do you also think I shouldn't be killed? The handsome guy in white who had finished his wontons next to him turned his head, looked at Lu Yuan, and suddenly said, Child, how old are you? Lu Yuan was caught off guard by the question, but after reacting, he said confidently, less than 9 years old. What? Less than 9 years old? Are you kidding me? The one who spoke was Chongqing, with a look of disbelief on his face. He thought the other person was at least 13 or 14 years old, otherwise how could he have such skill and brains? Ruotong was also a little surprised and asked, what is it called? Lu Yuan. Your surname is Lu too? Ruotong was curious. The Lu family in Jiangsu. Lu Yuan was stunned for a moment, but then he realized that this Lu family was not the other Lu family. He shook his head. It's just the same surname as Lu, but it's not the Lu family you mentioned. Ruotong nodded after hearing this, and then suddenly said, that child, you actually just want to kill him. It was originally a question, but Ruotong said it in the affirmative. Before Lu Yuan could frown and answer, Ruotong had already stood up. Let's go, Qingzhen, Chongqing. Chongqing originally wanted to say that he hadn't eaten the wontons yet, but seeing that his master and senior brother had left, he had no choice but to follow him. Looking at the retreating figure, Lu Yuan's original frowning expression disappeared, and instead showed an inexplicable smile. He sighed in his heart. As expected of immortal Daing, he was discovered. As expected, he can't play any tricks. Lu Yuan immediately stood up, left the meal money, picked up his things and chased after him. If nothing else, from the moment he saw the other person, he understood that this was his hope of worshipping in Longhu Mountain this time, therefore, naturally we cannot let it go. Chapter 79 Trinity's Ruotong. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The Trinity sect is a very special sect in the martial arts world. It is collectively known as Trinity Xianmen to the outside world. Just from the word Xianmen, we can see its pursuit and positioning. Strictly speaking, Xianmen is an important branch of Taoism, specifically referring to the Taoist sect whose main methods of cultivation are spells, alchemy, and immortality. The word Xianmen originally originated from mysterious and mysterious, the door of many wonderful things in Laozi. Unlike Taoism, which in addition to practice, also takes into account the inheritance and promotion of religion and classics, Taoism pays more attention to personal cultivation and experience, emphasizing the understanding and perception of nature and the Tao, and the goal of immortality through cultivation. To put it bluntly, people just go there specifically to cultivate immortality. There is a special skill in its sect called 3 levels of reverse life. The intention is to reversely cultivate one's qi back to the state of the innate qi, so as to achieve the ultimate goal of ascending to immortality. There is a sentence that sums it up very accurately: going with the trend can avoid disaster, and only by going retrograde can you master Yuan Gong. Lu Yuan clearly remembered the description of this technique in the original work. In the first level, the true energy is filled and the energy transforms into the skin and flesh. After being practiced, one will have the power of dragon and tiger. The second level is to transform muscles, bones and internal organs, so that injuries and damage can be quickly repaired, creating an indestructible body. the third level is to transform the whole body into energy, rebel against the innate nature, and become immortal and ascend. Yuan, who had read the original work, knew that he could not ascend after being transformed into the third level of qi. But this does not prevent Yuan from wanting to obtain this technique. Of course, what he was interested in was not the ability to transform the whole body. What really moved his heart was the last one in the Trinity. As mentioned before, Yuan has already made some guesses about what refining qi and transforming God is about. The God among them must include the process of transforming acquired qi into innate qi, because only when the innate qi is replenished can human beings have the possibility of achieving immortality. In fact, if you look at reverse life from this perspective, you will find problems before the third level. Including the third level that completely transformed the whole body. Did they really come into contact with the innate energy? This can be seen from the fact that the sect leader's Ruotong's Nishin Kung Fu was broken and his old body was exposed. Some people may say that it is caused by Ruotong maintaining a state of reverse growth for many years and consuming his energy. This influence cannot be ruled out, but the innate energy itself has the function of nourishing the soul and the body. It can be explained before the third level, but the fact that it is broken in the third level and the body is still old can reflect a big problem. From this, we can boldly guess that most of these first three levels are still lingering in the acquired energy. 3-1, 3-1, the one after the third level is what attracts Yuan's greatest attention. In the hands of others, the three levels of reverse rebirth technique might only be able to reach the second or third level, but for Yuan, he was confident that he could see the way to unification, but this does not mean that Yuan will go to Trinity Gate. For him, Trinity is not his own way, but more like taking shortcuts and taking shortcuts. His attitude towards it is to take the essence and discard the dross. Well, he admitted that he actually looked down on him a little, but this did not prevent Yuan from admiring his sect leader's Ruotong. How should I put it? This complex figure is known as Mr. Konglong, an immortal Dang by the world. He has wisdom and insight, which is reflected in his talent for cultivation and his ability to see through people's hearts. The perseverance and compassion of his character are reflected in his continuous persistence for decades and his careful care for his disciples and disciples. He disciplined himself, cultivated his body, cultivated his mind, guided and taught, and truly interpreted the word martial virtue with his life's actions, but he is also full of tragedy. After decades of persistence, the moment he finally succeeds, he discovers that the third level cannot reach the sky. His previous persistence is like a joke, and his Taoist heart collapses, and he finally gives up on himself in exhaustion. Countless Taoist friends from all over the world have felt sorry for Ruotong, and have taken various rough actions to help him escape. But in Yuan's view, it was somewhat cruel, just like one day, someone suddenly came in front of him, tell him, stop cultivating, he will not become an immortal in the end, and he will just tell that person to go away. Whether it is right or wrong, it is up to each person to decide how to choose. Sometimes a gesture of compassion may not be a good thing for others. All living beings are staggering on the road of seeking. We can give advice to others, but we really should not use our so-called correct good intentions to deny a person's persistence. It is best to walk this road by yourself, and it is best to seek this road by yourself, even if it is fruitless in the end. On the long street, Ruotong was walking in front. Next to him, Chongqing couldn't help but say, "No, master, what are we causing trouble? We come in a hurry and leave in a hurry." Ruotong smiled and said, "Why are you so anxious? That kid is smarter than you." Chongqing made a sad face. Yes, I still don't understand what's going on. Aren't they all talking about the child who was killed? Did I miss something?" "You didn't miss it. It's just that master was right. That boy is too smart. Just wait and see, he will catch up." Qingjin chuckled next to him. "Why?" Chongqing was confused. However, Ruotong and Qingjin just smiled and did not explain. The depressed Chongqing turned around and couldn't help but tremble. Unexpectedly, Yuan was already walking beside him. "No. You, when did you come here?" Chongqing was sweating instantly. Yuan ignored the other party and spoke directly to Ruotong. The indignation in his tone was gone and he said rather briskly, Mr. Swa, it was me who had some thoughts before. I couldn't help it, who could since you are immortal dang, you can't help but give it a try. Testing? What are you testing? Chongqing approached and asked. He stretched out his hand to push the other person's head away. Chiefswoman, can I ask you to help me with something? Although it is a little abrupt, but facing an 8-year-old child, wandering around the world, without a father or mother, and who may be raped by bad guys at any time. Speak humanly. It's actually very simple. I want to worship at Longhu Mountain. Can you make a recommendation for me? As soon as these words came out, Ruotong, Qingzhen, and Chongqing all looked at each other instantly. Qingzhen, who had a long, straight face, spoke to Lu Yuan for the first time. It's actually Longhu Mountain. Didn't you want to enter Trinity Gate? Although Trinity is also very good, I know best about my own situation. Longhu Mountain is more suitable for me. Lu Yuan didn't hide it. Hey. Boy, are you too thick-skinned? You come to our Trinity sect, but you want to ask for help to set up connections with other sections. Are you polite? Chongqing was a little unhappy. Ruotong also looked over at this time. He didn't think anything of it, he was just curious about what the other party thought. Hey, you three, listen to me first. My name is Lu Yuan. I was picked up and raised by an old beggar named Lu when I was a child. Later, the old beggar passed away, and I was alone. I have good personal talents, and the exercises I practice are also inherited from my family. It is the path of the growth of the 5 qi and the transformation of yin and yang and the 5 elements, so after accidentally learning the principles of the thunder method of Longhu Mountain, I knew where I was going. Lu Yuan observed the faces of several people and continued with a smile, I am going to Longhu Mountain on this trip. I was originally thinking about how to worship at the mountain gate. Unexpectedly, I met the 3 heads of the Sword gate on the way. I was thinking I had an idea immediately. So you took my master's idea into account. Chongqing interrupted, but Qingzhen slapped her head and interrupted, listen to what I'm saying. Lu Yuan continued to speak unaffected, Brother Chongqing is right, but I had your mind set on Mr. Woman, and because your reputation was so famous, I was curious, so I started to experiment a little, and deliberately following what Brother Chongqing said. He complicated the topic of killing children, which was a bit of a change of concept. I wanted to drag you into that topic trap, but you still saw through it. Just want to test me? Ruotong said with a smile but not a smile, and interrupted Chongqing again. Of course, it also means to show off and impress you. Lu Yuan said bluntly, spreading his hands. Oh, is that the same now? Lu Yuan clapped his hands and said with a smile, look, I asked you to see it again, didn't I? However, I also told the whole truth in detail, including the word sincerity in it. You can't pretend you didn't see it. Chapter 80, Escape Light. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Ruotong didn't say anything until Lu Yuan finished speaking. The next moment, he suddenly raised his hand and grabbed Lu Yuan, almost instinctively. Lu Yuan wanted to slide away, but in the end he held back and allowed the other party's hand to rest on his shoulder. In fact, Ruotong didn't do anything, the big hand attached to Qi just shook lightly on Lu Yuan's shoulder. Apart from a slight dizziness, there is no feeling at all. The lives are consistent, and the bone ages are also consistent. After Zigu said something, Ruotong took back his hand. You suspect that I was kidnapped? By the way, is there really such a method in the world? Lu Yuan's eyes were full of curiosity. I haven't seen it before, but there are ways to hide the child's body by rubbing the bones and painting the skin. Ruotong looked into Lu Yuan's eyes again. He is full of energy and perfect Taoism. To be honest, if I hadn't tried it myself, I would have. It's hard to imagine that children like you exist. Then you've seen it now, so what do you think about the favor I mentioned? Lu Yuan said and winked. Ruotong smiled, even if you are honest with me, I have no obligation to help you. Otherwise, if everyone in the world comes to you like you, then my Trinity sect will become a Jianhu Shantang. Chiefswoman, I'm only 8 years old. Lu Yuan emphasized. But your mind has reached an adult level. I'm only 8 years old. Your methods are equally impressive. Only 8 years old. You are so thick-skinned that people are reassured. 8 years old. Ahem, look again, look again. The corner of Lu Yuan's lips curled up. In that case, I will follow the leader's will for the time being. Anyway, we are all going south together, and it is the same train. Whatever. After that, Lu Yuan walked easily and stopped talking. Occasionally, Chongqing would answer questions when he got annoyed. Although this approach is a bit shameful, the effect is very good, because this is a unique talent of the 8-year-old. As for not meeting the identity and being too cheap. What is his identity? As long as you follow your heart, everything doesn't matter. He can kneel down with a playful smile to coax Master Lu to eat vegetables, and he can also hold the emperor's neck to express not eating beef. He keeps the moral yardstick in his heart and puts the murderous slap into practice. Treating Ruotong like this today is actually a bit of relying on the weak or bullying the strong, but it doesn't matter. Lu Yuan knows it, and Ruotong also knows it. In fact, the repeated questioning at the end is also a kind of test. With Ruotong's character, although he has a good heart, he cannot be blackmailed by such a thing. It is really possible for him to say it's none of my business. But the other party didn't say anything in the end. In fact, he had already opened his mouth. Lu Yuan knew very well that after watching the previous battle and the last 2 conversations, he had gained some appreciation. As long as Ruotong is dealt with, it will basically be settled for him to join Longhu Mountain, and it will save him the risk of stealing his master and being hunted all over the world in the future. 5:30 in the afternoon. After getting on the train again, Lu Yuan sat directly into Ruotong's box. This was meant to be a 4-seater, so Lu Yuan entered it generously and didn't feel ashamed at all. Neither Ruotong nor Qingzhen said anything. After the train started, they sat cross-legged and closed their eyes, not knowing whether they were practicing or not. Chongqing, on the other hand, kept talking, and he didn't think he was making any noise. Lu Yuan stared at him for a while. Boy Lu, why are you looking at me like this? Chongqing felt a little uncomfortable. I said, Lao Zhang, Master Zhua and your senior brother are both practicing hard. Why don't you practice? Chongqing's forehead suddenly darkened. Chongqing is the number. You either call me all or don't call me. What the hell is the boss? Also, of course I want to watch you. After hearing this, Lu Yuan suddenly smiled and came to the other party's side. Under the other party's wary gaze, he hooked his arm on the other party's shoulders and said, Sir, you see the road is long and idle time is idle. Why don't we juniors exchange ideas? What do you mean? Chongqing suddenly became more alert. Hey, why are you so nervous? Listen to me. Lu Yuan pulled the other person and said, Do you want my ability to snap my sword? No, what do you mean? Chongqing blinked. Lu Yuan raised his finger to point at the other party and then at himself. He raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, How about we exchange tricks? Upon hearing this, Chongqing suddenly laughed angrily. I admit that your method is indeed good, but the idea of our 3 levels of reverse life, isn't it? Hey, hey, hey. What are you thinking about? All you have in Sanyi is the 3 levels of reverse life. I'm a real person, and I'm not greedy for more. I just want a life-improving technique. How about it? Lu Yuan added after he finished speaking. You also know that I have been wandering since I was a child and have basically never seen any other techniques. Since you are such a big sect in Sanyi, there should be many such techniques. Chongqing couldn't help but look sideways at Lu Yuan. Boy Lu, are you serious? I can teach you the method first. Lu Yuan straightened his back and said seriously. Chongqing really hesitated now. He looked at Ruotong subconsciously. He couldn't make the decision in this matter. Sure enough, the other party has opened his eyes. Ruotong stared at Lu Yuan. Why are you doing this? I don't believe you haven't heard of the Golden Light Curse. As the fundamental skill of Longhu Mountain to temper your life, you can get it as long as you get started. Why are you looking for us at this time? Exchange? Do you think you can't get in? Lu Yuan had been waiting for the other party to ask for a long time. In fact, those words he just said were not only to Chongqing, but also to ask Ruotong. Sect Master, it's not as complicated as you think. It's rare to meet you three here. I just want to find an insurance policy, and I don't take the means and techniques that seriously. After hearing this, Ruotong stared at Lu Yuan for a long time and then said, no need to exchange, Chongqing, just pass escape from light to him. After finishing speaking, Ruotong closed his eyes again. Lu Yuan thanked him and immediately looked at Chongqing. The other party had a stinky face. Listen carefully, I will only say it once. Although Escape from Light is a very popular book, it is absolutely solid. It can temper your life and resist attacks. It does not matter if you practice it well. It will be less effective than the Golden Light spell. Lu Yuan cupped his hands and said, Sir, please speak. That the corner of Chongqing's mouth twitched, and finally she said helplessly, forget it, I will try to speak slower. If you don't understand something, just say it directly. So for the next half hour, Chongqing explained the escape from light method from beginning to end. During this period, Qingzhen occasionally interrupted and added, which made Chongqing sweat on his forehead and feel a lot of pressure. After he finished speaking, he took a deep breath, picked up the water bottle and took a few sips, then said, I have basically finished speaking. This thing cannot be learned in a short time. In the past few days, you write down all the key terms first, and wait for us. In the middle of the words, Chongqing was stunned. The kettle fell to the ground with a clang, and his voice suddenly went up an octave. How is this possible? They saw that Lu Yuan had closed his eyes at some point, and a faint white light glowed on his body. The light and darkness were rapidly changing from unstable at first, to quickly becoming one, and finally covering his whole body and becoming stable. So that's it, that he muttered something, and when he opened his eyes again, 3 pairs of eyes were staring at him firmly.